Peace, everybody. This is your brother Kimbe. I'm back with you again with another installment of our brand new series, Kimbe Reads. Kimbe Reads is dedicated to playwrights, poets, authors, artists, creatives of African descent from all over the globe. So if you have any suggestions, please hit my inbox. You can catch me on Instagram. You can catch me on YouTube. Anyway, see me in the streets, pull up, let me know. If you have an author or anybody you know personally, even no matter if they're famous or not, and I'll read it. It would be a great honor and privilege for me to read it. You know what I'm saying? It would be an honor. You know, until I write my own book. Shameless plug. I'm working on it. But our first selection is Assata. It's an autobiography written by Assata Shakur herself. There's a foreword from the revolutionary Angela Davis and the world-renowned attorney, Mr. Lennox S. Hines. Thankfully, we are now on chapter 7 in our book. This particular text has 21 chapters. We're on 7, so we're moving right along. I thank you for staying with me. Please, any feedback, any constructive criticism, or just criticism, I can take it. I have tough skin, you know what I'm saying? I'm not easily embarrassed, and I'm certainly not easily shamed. Please let me know. I'm all ears, and I'm open. I'm open for criticism. I'm open for conversation. I'm open to have debates. I'm open, man. Let me know. Let me know so we can build. Our number chapters are dedicated to Assata Shakur's trial, all her experiences surrounding law enforcement. She has various run-ins with the state troopers, NYPD, FBI, CIA, even different Nazi groups, you know, the Ku Klux Klan. It's a very interesting story. It's very rich. And it's important that we pay attention to the details. I've done enough talking, so let's dive in. It starts off, chapter 7 starts off like this. Kamal and I were acquitted in the bank robbery trial in the Southern District of New York on January 28th, 1973. And on the following day, I was returned to New Jersey. When I arrived at Morristown Jail, there was a clump of reporters and photographers standing around. Morristown looked just like small town USA. The jail was an ugly building attached to the courthouse. There were a few other women in the jail, and I was kept away from them. The only time I saw them was when I was being taken to or from my cell. They all appeared to be white, although I found out later that one was black. The guards were all women, as old as the hills, and they had been working at the jail for an eternity. So, you know, chapter 7 starts off right away. Thankfully, Kamal and Assata have both been acquitted from the bank robbery trial that supposedly happened in Queens, New York. So that's good. That's good news. What's not so good news is she's immediately returned to Morristown Jail in New Jersey. Small town, rich town, not very many minorities, especially not very many African Americans. So let's continue. We're going to move on to Assata's views on African Americans and the jury selection process. Here we go. We learned that there were few, if any, black jurors on the panel for the new trial. The news was depressing. The panel was selected from the voting rolls, and since candidates running for office seldom represent the interests of black and poor people, blacks and the poor don't vote. But failing to vote means they don't sit on juries. Any chance that we would receive something even resembling a fair trial was slim. We decided to try to have the trial removed to federal court. The chance of the feds taking over was slim, but it was worth the try. If the trial was held in the federal court in Newark, at least we'd be assured of a few more black jurors on the jury panel. So Assata's talking about the jury selection process and how since a lot of political candidates don't cater to the black community and don't cater to the disenfranchised, disadvantaged, poorer communities, that a lot of poor people and a lot of black people subsequently do not participate in the voting process. These are one of the consequences of black people and poor people not participating in the voting process. And one of those consequences are a lot of us don't sit on juries. You know, you're supposed to, when you have a trial, you're supposed to have a jury of your peers. But if your peers are not on the voting rolls, if your peers don't vote, they don't have a chance to sit on the jury. And if they don't have a chance to sit on the jury, the likelihood that you're going to receive a fair trial is, as Assata put it, slim to none. So let's move on. Assata continues. As a matter of fact, the whole jury panel looked like escapees from a soap opera. They dressed differently and had a whole different air about them than New York people. Morristown was supposed to be one of the 10 richest counties in the country. And looking at these people, I believed it. I could just see trying to explain to them what poor black people in big cities go through. How could they understand someone becoming a black revolutionary? They had so little to revolt against. They had bought the American dream lock, stock, and barrel, and seemed unaware that for the majority of black and third world people, the American dream is the American nightmare. Well, I think Assata did a great job of saying exactly what she meant to say. You know, she just further describing this jury that she's about to face here in New Jersey, and she's just saying, my hope, I don't really have hope. I'm not very optimistic, and the reason why is because I don't see anybody who looks like me on the jury. There's nobody who's going to sympathize with me, who's going to be making a major decision about my freedom. And you know, you forgive her for feeling so pessimistic, you know, but this is her life that we're talking about. And you know, given all of the things that she has gone through in the first 6 chapters of this book, it's amazing how she can keep her sanity, let alone have some resemblance of hope, you know. So I pray that she stays strong, and we're going to continue. Let's see what we have next. Oh, she's going to talk about this individual named Robert Daly. This is important. So let's key in just really quickly on Mr. Robert Daly. Robert Daly, who at one time was the public relations and publicity director for the New York City Police Department, had written the book Target Blue. An excerpt from the book was coincidentally printed in New York Magazine on almost the exact day our trial was to begin. Oh gosh. 1 or 2 chapters were about the Black Liberation Army. The book was a collection of sensationalism, groundless accusations, and outright lies. The few facts that were in those 2 chapters were distorted beyond recognition. I was referred to by name. Daly implied that I had been responsible for the deaths of numerous policemen. He called me the soul of the Black Liberation Army, the mother hen that kept them fighting and kept them moving. According to the book, I had also robbed numerous banks and blown up a police car with a hand grenade during a police chase. Have you ever read Target Blue? The judge asked. Yes. Immediately, the defense team submitted requests to the judge that additional questions be asked. When did you read this book? As a matter of fact, I'm reading it now. Not only had he been reading the book, but he had it upstairs in the jury room. Although the defense team asked for an investigation, the judge refused. It was obvious the man had brought the book to court to show to the other jurors and that they had discussed it. After a lot of arguments made by our lawyers, the judge agreed to dismiss that juror and others in the panel with whom he had been close. So you can already see there's a lot of manipulation. You have Mr. Daly, who at one time was the public relations director for the entire New York Police Department. He authored a book, and the book was called Target Blue. It's pro-police, it's pro-blue. Blue meaning police. It's a pro-police book. And in that book, there are 2 chapters dedicated pretty much to Assata Shakur. And in Assata's own words, she said, what did she say? The book was a collection of sensationalism, groundless accusations, and outright lies. So it's propaganda. There's propaganda around Assata Shakur because she's undergoing numerous trials, and they're trying to paint her in a certain light. They're trying to control the narrative or push a narrative in a certain way to make it look like she's guilty, to make it look like she's a monster. They're trying to even insinuate that she's one of the grand leaders of the Black Liberation Army, which is supposed to be the spooky entity coming to bring revolution to America and rip it from its foundation. That's neither here nor there. That's just what's being presented. So Assata, again, all of these things are affecting her. And instead of conducting an investigation, which would have been proper protocol for this situation, the judge refused to have an investigation. He just removes that juror who happened to be so-called coincidentally reading the book, so-called coincidentally brought the book to the courtroom, and so-called coincidentally started sharing excerpts from the book with other people on the jury. That's so disingenuous, but we're going to continue. And chapter 7 starts to turn. There's a turning point in chapter 7, and here we go. Very unexpected for a lot of people, but here we go. You might want to pay attention to this, because this is when it gets deep. This is when it gets serious, especially for my women in particular. They might feel a type of way. It wasn't until I sat down one day to do my exercises that I really suspected what could be wrong. I could barely get through 10 sit-ups. Everything added up. I didn't dare hope, but at the same time, down deep inside, I knew. As sure as I knew my name, I knew that I was pregnant. As sure as I knew my own name, I knew that I was pregnant. But what was I to do next? I knew I had to see the doctor, but what in the world was I going to say? I have been in prison for 8 months, and it would be really weird to say, hey, I think I'm pregnant. I wanted to know for sure whether I was or not, but if I wasn't, I didn't want the doctor to know my business, because if I was, it would be only a matter of time before the whole world knew, or before the whole world would know. So here we go. The plot thickens. Again, I told you this story is rich and it gets deeper. Assata believes that she's pregnant. She has a workout regimen, a daily workout regimen that she does every day, and she's finding it more difficult to get through them. I mean, women know their bodies, you know what I'm saying? Women know their bodies, and if she's saying she's pregnant, trust me, I'm going with her, but she's having hesitation about going to the prison doctor. As we can see, the prison doctor, man, I'm trying not to get too personal because I don't know the individual personally, but the prison doctor, man, he can come off very harsh, short, condescending, sarcastic. Okay, let me put it this way. It's very clear that the prison doctor doesn't have Assata Shakur's best interest at heart. And we found that out earlier in the book after she got injured, and how insensitive he was, and how he was just very shady, taking her chest brace. She needed her chest brace just to sit up straight, and he took it from her. Like, there's a number of things in this book that have me feeling some type of way about this prison doctor, and they never say his name. We know it's a he. We don't know his ethnicity, but they never say his name, and I just don't like the dude. Just gonna be frank, I don't like him. I think he a cold sucker for real, but that's neither here nor there. So we're gonna move on to Assata Shakur. She begins to recollect or reflect on her thoughts about having a child, though she's facing life in prison. You know what I'm saying? I spent the next few days in a virtual daze, a joyous daze. A person was inside of me, someone who was going to grow up to walk and talk, to love and laugh. To me, it was the miracle of all miracles, and deeply spiritual. The odds against this baby being conceived were so great, it boggled my mind. And yet, it was happening. It seemed so right, so beautiful, and surroundings that were so ugly. I was filled with emotion. Already, I was deeply in love with this child. Already, I talked to it and worried about it and wondered how it was feeling and what it was thinking. I would lie in my cell wondering about his or her life, wondering what kind of life it would have, what kind of people it would love, what kind of values it would have, and what it would think of all of the madness that was surrounded. Sometimes I felt so helplessly protective, wondering when my baby would be called nigger for the first time, wondering when the full horror and degradation of being black in America would descend on my baby. How many wolves hid behind the bushes to eat my child? So, I don't know what it's like to be a mother. I never will have that honor. I'm a man, and I'm praying that, I can live a life in a way that is deserving of fatherhood, because I feel like fatherhood is something that you earn. It's not a given. Anybody can be a biological, sperm donor. It's special to become a father, So, and even being a father is very different from being a mother. And even being a mother is very different from being an African American mother facing life in prison, finding out that you're pregnant with life, thinking of things, thinking of ways to protect your child, thinking of what type of people will my child run into, what type of world is my child being born into. It's questions like those that cause one to pause and take stock of reality. It makes you want to think about the way that you move. It makes you challenge your own personal beliefs. Faith. How is she going to protect her child in prison? That's a good question. I mean, she's facing life in prison, but she's pregnant. What type of life is her child going to have? That's something that it has to plague her mind constantly. I don't want to dwell too much on that. That's so deep that I'm getting tongue tied. That's profound. I'm sorry. That's profound. All right. Oh, looky here. So we're moving on, and I made some notes, and it says Assata has a conversation with the prison doctor. So this next segment is going to be a dialogue between Assata and the prison doctor, who I'm just letting it be known I don't care for him. I don't care for him. I don't dig his vibes. Well, I can't force you to do anything, but my advice is to have an abortion. It would be better for you and for everyone else. I don't want nobody's abortion, but what are you going to do about this miscarriage thing? Isn't there something you can give me to keep me from having a miscarriage? Isn't there something that I can take to make sure I don't lose this baby? No, there's nothing I can do now. We have to wait and see what happens. What do you mean, wait and see what happens? If I have a miscarriage, then it will be too late. Can't you call a gynecologist? No, there's nothing I can do right now. You mean there's nothing you will do right now, don't you? Take it any way you want to. Won't you at least call a gynecologist in to see me? You're not a specialist in this area. I don't need you to tell me what my specialties are, he said, angrily. It would be best for everybody concerned if you have an abortion, no matter which way you have it. Just who is everybody concerned? Don't you worry about it. My advice to you is that you should go to your cell and lie down. Just lie down and rest your mind. Just lie down and stay off of your feet. And if you go to the bathroom and see a lump in the toilet, don't flush it. It's your baby. I raced out of his office. When I got to my cell, I lay on the cot crying. I was worried to death. As far as I could see, they were out to kill my baby. I couldn't lose this baby now. Not now. It was meant to be. This baby was our hope for the future. I tried to calm myself. I didn't want the baby to feel my anguish. Finally, I fell asleep. Now, not to give too much commentary, look, I don't like that dude. I do not like the prison doctor. He's over here suggesting that Assata have an abortion. Where does he get off? Where does he get the right? You know what I'm saying? Where does he get the right? Now, to give you some backdrop, there's a possibility that Assata is going to have a miscarriage, and she's terrified. What woman wouldn't be? She doesn't want to lose this baby. She's determined to have it. And we're going to see this saga play out over the next couple of chapters. But what I'm going to do is I'm probably going to share, let me see. I only have 3 more. So let me get through this. It's already been a long time. I don't want the segment to be 30 minutes. So I'm going to pause my comments and thoughts and views on that. Please hit me in the comments. Let me know what y'all think. You know what I'm saying? Hit me down there in the comments, and we can rap about it. But I don't want to keep you too long. So here we go. Okay. Assata receives a black gynecologist, which is dope. That's good. Ray and Evelyn came back in about an hour. Don't worry, they told me. The trial has been postponed until there is a report from our doctor. The judge has permitted you to be examined by your own gynecologist, and he's coming this afternoon. So cheer up. They did their best to take my mind off of everything and to make me feel better. That day, I felt worse than ever before. How couldn't she? I mean, man, I cannot get off of that prison doctor. He's such a jerk, such a jackass. He's a jackass. Trying to tell her to have an abortion. That's not your right. That's not your place. That's not your job. You know what I mean? That's crazy. Assata meets her new doctor. Would you tell me your name again? I asked him, ashamed that I had forgotten it. Sure. That's an easy order. Ernest Wyman Garrett. He practiced in Newark. I'm sorry, I always say that wrong. He practiced in Newark, and there was an air of Newark about him. I liked him instantly. He was one of those rare breed of black professionals who haven't lost contact with the masses of black people. He didn't have one trace of the affected bourgeois speech and mannerisms that are so popular among the black middle class. I waited nervously for the verdict. There's no doubt about it, you're pregnant. But I found blood in the vaginal canal, which can be a sign that something is wrong. There's a possibility that you are threatening to abort. This doesn't mean that you are going to have a miscarriage. The chances are good that you won't. The odds and medical statistics are in your favor. He explained the different possibilities and the treatment he was prescribing. I asked a million questions, and when he left, felt a whole lot better, just knowing that there was someone I could trust taking care of me and the baby. So God is good, you know what I mean? Dr. Garrett has now stepped in. He's an African-American doctor from Newark, New Jersey. He seems to be very down to earth. He seems to be very concerned. He's very gentle. He's very patient. Assata is asking him a million questions. These are in her own words. She's asking question after question, and from what I perceive, he's answering them patiently. He's taking his time. He's prescribing her medicine. I'm happy that Dr. Garrett is now in Assata's corner because, as I stated before, I am not a fan of the prison doctor. I wish I knew his name so I could look him up. Like, seriously, I'm that serious about it. I don't like how he gets down. But anyway, here's the last thing that I have highlighted, and then we're going to conclude chapter 7 and gracefully transition to chapter 8. It says, Dr. Garrett recommends that Assata be hospitalized. Yeah, you think? Anyway, about 2 days after his first visit, Dr. Garrett came to visit me. When he finished examining me, he said, Assata, I don't want to worry you, but I think you should be hospitalized. It's nothing serious, strictly a precautionary measure. You're in no condition to proceed with a trial. You need a few weeks of complete bed rest. There is a possibility the judge will try to push you into that trial right away, without regard for your medical condition. Assata, there is no way we are going to let that happen. I am prepared to fight all the way for your right as a human being to receive decent medical care and for your baby to be born healthy. I'm doing the same for you as I would do for any other patient. You should be hospitalized. There isn't a responsible doctor in the world who wouldn't agree with that opinion. And I'm prepared to testify in any court that to deny you proper medical care would be tantamount to committing murder. I will be going in a very short time to give a medical report about your condition to the judge. I will do my best to convince him of the seriousness of this matter. I think he'll listen to reason. I'm sure the judge will go along with the findings of 2 board-certified gynecologists. But if worse comes to worse, and the judge denies our motion, I will see to it personally that this jail and the courtroom are surrounded by the right to life people by tomorrow morning. I like Dr. Garrett. I like how he gets down. I like how he seems to be personally invested in this. He says that, I would do this for any one of my patients. So why should you be an exception? Because you're incarcerated? No, that's not good enough for me. You need a couple of weeks of complete bed rest. You need to, we need to postpone this trial. You're about to bring life into the world. That gets the priority. Nothing is more important than that. And I like the fact that he's bringing a certain calm to Assata, who at this point in her life, she's a wreck emotionally and has the right to be. It's amazing this woman has any semblance of sanity. But I'm gonna continue with my very, very last blurb, and then we're gonna conclude. Later, they put me on a stretcher and wheeled me into an ambulance. Don't worry, I told the baby, you're gonna be all right. That's how chapter 7 actually ends. And right after that, there's a poem that I'm not gonna read now. I'll make a separate segment for the poem. It's beautiful and it's brief. It's called Love, but I want to highlight it on its own. So let's talk for a quick moment. Okay, this has been the conclusion of chapter 7. I'm thankful that you stayed with me thus far. Right? This is Assata, an autobiography written by Assata Shakur herself. The foreword is written by Angela Davis, the revolutionary, and the world-renowned attorney Mr. Lennox S. Hines. This has been another segment of Kimbe Reads. Kimbe Reads is dedicated to playwrights, poets, authors, artists, and creators of African descent from all over the world. Any suggestions that you may have, please type it into the comments. Pull up on me in real life. I'm a real person. I'm not fraudulent. I don't have a big ego. You know what I'm saying? I'm just I'm a local educator in DC. Look me up. Holla at me. People know me. And I'm a cool person to get to know. I believe in this series, and I believe that this woman and this text is something that we need to discuss. But it's hard to have a discussion on a one-way street. Like, using this platform, you get to see me. You get to hear me, right? You get to hear my views. I don't get to hear yours. I would love to hear yours. So this has been real. Holla at me. Let's engage. Let's build. Your brother Kimbe, I'm out. I will be back shortly, probably later on tonight or tomorrow with chapter 8, because it's a long book and we're getting through it, and we would like to get to the halfway point by the first week of February. That's the goal. So I'm gonna see you guys soon. I love you. One love. I'm out.